remittances. Okay. So when we are discussing about foreign capital, it's nothing but the funds that we are receiving from other country, that is from foreign country to support our country. That is referred to as foreign capital. Okay. This foreign capital, it can be in various forms, like for example, your financial resources, such as your assets or your investments that come from different individuals, that come from various government organization, okay, that comes from various corporations to support from of your foreign nations to support your country. Okay, so that is present in different forms. First is foreign direct investment. What do you mean by foreign direct investment? In short, we call it as FDI. Okay, so foreign direct investment is nothing but it's a kind of investment where a foreign entity, that is a foreign company, they acquire at least 10% of our controlling interest in a domestic company in order to set up a new business. Okay. For example, I'm just trying to set up a new business in my country where I'm living. So what I'm trying to do, I'm just trying to take a kind of a loan from foreign company, agreeing to pay it for at least 10%. Okay, remaining 90% will be paid in the duration of a time. But initially, I'm just paying 10% amount of it. Okay, I'm taking a fund of 10%, and then I'm just trying to start a business in my host country or in my parent country where I'm living in. That is referred to as your foreign direct investment. Next, you have foreign portfolio investment. Okay. Portfolio means where you try to segregate, where you try to show in a kind of a dashboard, like how you will be mentioning difference between A and B. So in a similar way, portfolio is nothing but it's a kind of a chart in which different corporations will be present where they will be coming up with their own interests that will be levied on you. So this is a kind of an investment in financial asset of a foreign country. For example, your bonds, okay, you can, your securities, stocks. So in this, without gaining a controlling interest in the company, you're just trying to invest it to start up your business. Okay, so for that, you will be checking from company A, okay, how much I may be able to get the fund, at what interest. Company B. So whichever you are getting the best price of it, best interest of it, okay, from that particular company, you'll be taking a fund and then starting up your business. Next is your loans and credits. Foreign governments or your banking institutions or your international institutions, such as your IMF is there, International Monetary Fund, your World Bank, okay, your private foreign bank. What do they try to do? They provide loans to country, okay, and these loans are provided to use for infrastructure, to use for the development of our country, okay, for economic stabilization. For that purpose, we go on with loans and credits from international institutions. Next is remittances. Remittance means what? The money that is sent back by the citizens who is working in foreign country. Okay. For example, I'm staying in a foreign country. I'm just trying to support my country, or I'm just trying to send money to my country or to my family who is living in parent company. That you refer to as remittance. Okay. Though it is not equivalent to investment, but the remittance fund, it can contribute significantly to the economy of the home country. The person who lives in a home country, to that particular person, we are just trying to transfer money. So this transfer of money, we call it as remittance. Okay. So these are the four forms of your foreign capital. That is FDI, foreign direct investment, foreign portfolio investment, loans and credit, and next is your remittance. Now, next you have importance of foreign capital. That means what is the necessity of the foreign capital? Okay. The first is for economic growth and development, for technology transfer, for employment generation, for balance of payment support, improved competitiveness, enhancing financial market development, boosting tax revenues, and fostering political and economic relations. For that, we make use of your foreign capital. Coming towards the first, that is economic growth and development. Basically, the capital, the capital formed or capital formation, ultimately it depends on developing countries, because developing countries, they often face shortage of domestic savings. So in this scenario, the foreign capital, okay, the foreign capital, they try to supplement the domestic capital that is available for investment in industries, either for infrastructure or for technological advancement. They try to provide fund for the economic development and growth of a country. Okay, so the foreign investments, they often require funds on a very large scale. Okay, for example, for the infrastructure of your power plant, for some kind of communication network, for development of roads. Okay, because development of roads are very vital for economic growth, right? So for these purposes, the host company will try to take funds from foreign company just for the economic growth and development. Next is technology transfer. Okay, how technology, how the concept of foreign capital is used for technology transfer. Basically, the FDI, that is foreign direct investment. Okay, this institution will allow the developing country to access the latest technology and manage the expertise of it. Okay, for example, the person who lives in US, they have got a very vast technology when compared to our Indian people. So what do those people would like to do? They want our economy to go in a very higher rate. For that, they are supporting us in the form of funds for technology upgradation. We are also using technology, but our technology is not that much upgraded when compared to the US country. Okay, so for that particular instance, many of the multinational corporations, they will try to bring their advanced manufacturing process, or else you can say software, or they try to bring some research and development techniques just
Ma-
to enhance their
Ma'am, page
productivity.
number, ma'am.
See, I'm not going page number wise. You can just refer the side headings of it, because I'm not uh, going as per your material.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, the one which is important, I'm just trying to showcase over here. It
Oh,
will be
yes.
there in your
Okay.
book itself.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, but here I'm just trying to explain it. I'm not going point to point from your material.
Yeah, ma'am.
Okay, you also go in the same way. Don't try it exactly what is there in the material. Try to explore it from your side as well, so that you will be gaining knowledge. Okay, so when we are trying to use this foreign capital for technology upgradation, we can go with various process, such as your manufacturing process, your software upgradation process, for your research and development process, okay, for innovation into your country to bring some kind of innovativeness, a kind of creativeness. Okay, sometimes it may happen you try to adapt some training programs which are being used in European countries. For that, that particular training should be conducted in your country as well. So what the foreign country will try to do, they will try to invest on the host company for upgradation of skills, that is skill development program, we call it as. Okay, so here the foreign investors, they are trying to help us in the transfer of skills. transfer of our management practice just to raise the overall human capital in the host country. For that purpose, we go for foreign capital. Next is employee generation. How the concept of employee generation takes place. You have seen this BPOs, right? In BPOs, actually, what is the concept of BPO? Usually, the people who are working at BPO, they do night shifts. What is the purpose of doing this night shift? It's like when we are working at night, it's a day in US country, right? So we are performing our operations during their daytime. That's the reason we are working night shifts, right? That means we are just trying to increase the economy of US country by working in our country. At the same time, our employment is also getting increased. That means we are generating a kind of employment in our country. People will be benefited from it, right? So here what is happening? A job is being created. Basically, the foreign capital that is used as FDI, they often leads to establishment of new business or a new industry in your host country that ultimately creates employment opportunities. So when we are trying to use this, this reduces unemployment and also it improves our living standards. The person who works at BPO, maybe initially the salary will be 25,000. Apart from BPO, if you are working, will you be getting the same amount? No. Whereas in BPO, during some periods, you'll be having high increment or high promotions you'll be getting. The same you cannot expect in non-BPO sector, right? So at the same time, you are just trying to improve your living standard. You are trying to improve their economy, right? And you are trying to enhance your skills, right? So this is how you are going to generate employment by using your foreign capital. Next is balance of payment support. What do you mean by balance of payment support? Here, whatever the foreign capital that we are taking, that ultimately helps to stabilize our country balance of payment. Because in lieu to that, we are taking foreign exchange. A person who stays in US, when he is trying to remit amount to us, okay, so dollars will be converted into rupees, okay. A single dollar is costing you 80 or 81 rupees, right? Am I right? So here, what are we trying to do? We are trying to balance our payment, okay, in the form of foreign exchange. So the investment that happens in your export industries or the remittances that you are taking from foreign countries, that ultimately strengthens the currency as well as it reduces your external imbalance in the form of foreign capital. Sometimes it may happen, our country will try to take loan from foreign country, okay, to reduce the gaps, to help maintain liquidity for the smooth functioning of economy. That we call it as debt financing. Debt financing is a concept from where we are trying to take a loan from foreign country. Next is it improves your competitiveness. Okay. How it improves your competitiveness? Because the inflow of your foreign capital, it ultimately brings competition. Okay. When competition is there, you forcibly has to do that particular job, right? That means your firm will be more efficient for you to comply to that job. That ultimately improve the product and services, right? Whenever we are going with global integration, integration means global expansion of your business with foreign country. Here we are trying to link our local economy with global market. When we are trying to link our global local economy with global market, we are trying to expand market access by boosting international level of trade. This is also one of the challenge that we will be facing, right? Next is enhancing Financial market development. How you are going to enhance your financial market development? By portfolio investment, because ultimately the foreign portfolio investment, it contributes to the development of your country. Okay, how it contributes? Because you are introducing some new instruments into it, some new financing tools into it, that enhances your liquidity position, that enhances your investment revenue within your country itself. And also, you are involving a kind of a stabilized financial system in your organization. With that, you can enhance your financial market development. Next is how to boost your tax revenue. Okay, because establishment of new business or new industry due to foreign capital, it boosts the overall economy. Ultimately, it increases your tax base for the government. You have to pay more tax, right? Because many multinational corporation, if you just observe, they contribute significantly to the tax revenue to the host country. And this tax can be used for public services for their welfare, right? And the last is fostering political and economic relation. How you are able to foster it? Foster means make it friendly. Okay. That means the companies that invest in each other, okay, in each other, they try to maintain a stronger political and economic alliances, which leads to better relations, which leads to your increased collaborations in your long run. Okay. Ultimately, it improves your economic stability, because what is the ultimate step? The foreign capital, it contribute to macroeconomic stability when you are going in long term. Okay. That reduces your, that stabilizes the funds of your domestic economy. Okay. So these are some of the importances. That means why it is necessary to go for the concept of foreign capital. Okay. Now, next you have is factors affecting the flow of foreign capital. Now, what are the factors that affects flow of capital? The first is your economic factor. Then you have your political and legal factor. Then you have your market factor, trade and investment policy, infrastructure and labor market. Economic factors in this, we have interest rate, we have your GDP growth rate, inflation rate, exchange rate stability. In your political and legal factors, we have government stability, regulatory environment, ease of doing business. In your market factors, we have stock market performance, real estate market, trade and investment policy, trade openness, tax policy, bilateral and multilateral agreement, infrastructure and labor market, quality of infrastructure, availability of skilled labor. Okay. Now, first coming towards economic factors. Okay. In this economic factors, because the economic conditions, it plays a very important role how to attract or how to repel your foreign capital. Okay. Coming towards the first, that is interest rate. When we are speaking about interest rate, the foreign investment, they try to seek the best return on their investment. Ultimately, that is also one of our strategy. When we are trying to give a loan to some other party, what do we see? Are we getting the best amount of interest or not? From whichever party, from whichever individual I'm getting best interest, I'll be giving a loan to that particular individual. So the same policy goes on with foreign investors as well, because even they will try to seek the best return, whatever that they have invested in our host country. Because the countries with higher interest rate, they try to attract more foreign capital in the form of portfolio investment. Okay. So, however, if interest rates are too high, they might signal inflation risk, which discourage our investment, right? This is one of the drawback. Coming towards the next, that is economic growth, that is GDP growth rate. A country with strong or with stable economy, okay, that country will offer better or best investment opportunities. Because the higher GDP growth rate, ultimately it expands your business activities. It increases your profitability. It increases your high return on investment. So the investment will be trying to prefer countries who have sustained economic growth for long-term period or for long-term investment. So to that particular organization, to that particular company only, the foreign capital will be given. Coming towards next, that is inflation rate. Okay. Low and stable inflation rate is attractive to investors. If we have high inflation rate, nobody will give us loan, right? If you are giving a loan and you will be coming to know that getting the amount from that person is risky, will you give the loan? No. The same thing happens over here. If you have low inflation rate, in that particular scenario, you'll be getting the foreign capital. If your inflation rate is high, nobody will try to invest, right? So low and stable inflation rate is attractive to investors, just to ensure whether you are in a position to repay to them or not. If you have high inflation rate, what will happen? It reduces the purchasing power of money. It increases your business cost, right? Making it less attractive. So the countries with high inflation rate, they often experience capital outflow, not inflow. Capital outflow, as investors, they try to seek stability in some other country where the inflation rate is low. Next factor could be exchange rate stability. Okay. See, dollar rate, we are getting it as 81 rupees. For example, in some other country, you are getting 40. Okay. Where is the inflation rate low? In which country? In our country or in the country where we are getting 40 as currency? Inflation rate is low. Where? In the country where we are getting the dollar price is 40. Okay, don't be happy that we are getting a dollar price is 80. That ultimately looks like your inflation rate is very high. Your economy is not that much good. Okay. So the foreign investors, they try to prefer stable currency values just to avoid losses from the exchange rate fluctuations. Because a depreciating currency value, it leads to the investors to have losses in their conversion rates. So they will have a fear in their mind. If I invest it, I'll be getting a very low interest rate. I'll be getting a very low conversion. High conversion rate will be there from the other party. So in such case, the government will use some monetary policies just to stabilize the exchange rate and attract your foreign investment. Okay. Coming towards the next factor, that is political and legal factors. Okay. In this, the first is government stability. The country's political environment, it automatically signifies your impact of foreign investment. Okay. So the investors will try to seek political stability because there might be some sudden policy changes, there might be some sudden changes in revolutions, or some war can take place negatively that can impact your investment. Okay. So for that purpose, the government will take certain measures. Okay. Because frequent changes in government or corruption or your political instability, that ultimately deters your foreign capital inflow. Okay. Next is your regulatory environment. In your regulatory environment, you should have a transparent, fair policy, a transparent or the investor friendly regulatory policy. It boosts your confidence to the foreign investors. Okay. Because at any moment of time, unpredictable regulations, unpredictable complications can take place, which ultimately discourages your investors. Okay, so you should have a clear contract enforcement, or you can say reduce bureaucratic policy, as in when you want to change the policy, that should not happen. It should be fair and clear. So ultimately, that attracts your foreign capital. Next thing is you should have ease of doing business. Okay, the countries that rank higher in ease of doing business, that tends to attract more investment. Okay. So factors like your starting up of a new business, or going up with your tax policies, or investor protection, that influences your capital flow. Okay. So whenever you are just doing your business globally, okay, you should be capable to accept the barriers that takes place. It could be your language barriers, it could be your cultural barriers, okay, it could be the barriers with respect to governmental policies. If you are able to do it in a well manner, then it helps your business to move in a very smooth and efficient way. Okay. Now next you have your market factors. Okay. First is your stock market performance. Basically, what happens, your foreign investors, they try to analyze market conditions before they invest. Similar to that, a well-developed stock market, it provides liquidity, it provides investment opportunities, right? So if a country's stock market is performing well, ultimately it attracts your foreign investors, right? Who is looking for quick returns. So you should have your stocks moving in a well performed manner with high liquidity rate. Because what happens if there is a sudden crash? That ultimately leads to capital outflow. No inflow will be coming. Ultimately, your your capital will be moving out. That is referred to as capital outflow, right? So that should not happen. Next is your real estate market. You have a live example when this Telangana was segregated from Andhra. At that time, we had a huge losses for real estate, right? So what those people did, they have sold all the lands and they moved to AP, Andhra Pradesh. And the people who were in Telangana, they benefited it. So this example, you can take it over your real estate market because many foreign investors, they try to seek invest in their real properties. If property prices are stable or if they are rising, this for that purpose only will take properties, right? So that at future getting more returns of it. Okay. So attractive real estate markets, they provide opportunities for both rental income as well as for capital thing. Next is your trade and investment policy. First is trade openness. Okay. So the countries that promote free trade investment, they attract more foreign capital. Okay, the nations with who has got what do you say, generic trade policy or liberal trade policy, and with less restrictions. Okay, less restrictions were on import and export. So ultimately, those countries will be attracting foreign capital. Okay, if you have high tariffs, if you have more trade barriers, ultimately it discourages your foreign investment. Okay, so trade openness should be there. You should be ready to accept the challenges of the foreign country. Next is your tax policy. Competitive tax rates or the incentives, it attracts your multinational companies. Okay, if you have got high taxation on your profits, ultimately it discourages your foreign investments to set up their business in a country. So that should not be there. Okay, you should have lower taxation on profits. High taxation on profits means no returns will be there, nothing you will be getting it. What is the use of doing business then? So ultimately, it discourages your foreign investors to start up their business. Next is bilateral and multilateral agreements. Okay, what do you mean by bilateral and multilateral? Here, in this case, free trade agreements will be there. Free trade agreements, or you can call it as economic partnership. When you have this, it automatically increases the investment by reducing your trade barriers. Okay, like there are some, what do you say, investment agreements, that is global investment agreements. For example, your NAFTA is there or WTO is there. They try to attract more foreign capital in order to make an agreement that goes on from one company to other, sorry, from one country to other country or one country to different number of countries. So either the agreement takes place bilaterally or it takes place multilaterally. Next is your infrastructure and labor market. Okay. Here, a company's infrastructure or labor conditions, it significantly impacts investment decisions. If you have got a very good infrastructure, it attracts a foreign country to invest in your country. If you don't have proper infrastructure or if you don't have skilled labor, then it discourages them to invest in your country. Okay, so in such scenario, quality of infrastructure plays an important role. Like infrastructure in the sense your roads, okay, electricity, the internet connectivity, okay, the ports, that is your airport, your seaport, okay, that ultimately attracts your investors. If you have poor infrastructure, ultimately it increases your business cost, but discourages your foreign direct investment. And also you should have availability of skilled labor, because a well-educated skilled labor makes a country more attractive for business. Okay, so the company who has got high labor productivity and strong education system, they try to receive more foreign capital, right? So the concept of foreign capital flows, whether it is inflow or outflow, that depends on mix of economic stability, your government policies, your market conditions, and investor confidence. Okay, so the countries that provide a very secure, what do you say, profitable and predictable environment, they attract higher levels of FDI and FPI. Okay, now next is forbidden territories of foreign investment. Forbidden territories means where you cannot expect your foreign capital. Okay, so you cannot expect your foreign capital, national security, telecommunication and broadcasting, agriculture and land ownership, natural resources and extractive industries, financial resources, healthcare and pharmaceuticals, environmental protection, and public services. These are the forbidden territories where you cannot go for foreign investment. Okay. Forbidden territories are something that refers to sectors or that refers to a kind of geographical regions where the investors are either completely prohibited or they are highly restricted from investing. Okay. Why it is being restricted? Because they usually, these territories or these sectors are usually imposed by host government for various reasons. It could be your national security, it could be your economic stability, your cultural preservation, okay, protection of your sensitive industry. Okay, so here are some of the listed areas where you cannot expect your foreign investment. First is your national security. National security means with respect to your defense, your military sector, cyber security, or your data protection. Okay, because most countries they restrict foreign investment in defense related industries. Why? Because of why? Because of national security. Because they often prohibit from owing. Even we cannot enter to that particular premises. When being a citizen, we cannot enter into their premises. Then how can a foreign country will come and invest in that particular area, in that particular sector? Okay. Cyber security also. There might be certain countries who impose restrictions on the sectors who handle sensitive data or critical cyber security, you can say, especially if the data involves national security or your personal concern, personal data concern. So there, nobody will try to invest it. Second is telecommunication and broadcasting. Okay, many countries, they will try to limit their foreign ownership in media sector. Media sector means your television channels, your newspaper, your, what do you say, radio stations. They try to prevent your foreign influence over national culture, over your political disclosure, and also public opinion. Okay. Next is your agriculture and land ownership. Okay. Because there are some countries who impose restrictions on foreign ownership of agriculture land to prevent foreign control over your food production. Okay. Because the rules may vary depending on the size of the land, depending on how you are able to use that, on how you are able to use that country policy goals, right? So, like you have your food production means certain crops or fisheries will be there, especially for those who are important for the country's self-sufficiency in their food production products or your agricultural resources. So there, the foreign country will not try to invest it. Next is your natural resources. Okay, like your mineral extraction is there. Okay, like your oil and gas company, mining industry, because they try to protect the national economy and ensure the countries benefit from its resources. Water resources also. Okay, like the ownership of water resources or the companies who try to manage water distribution, especially in countries where access to water is considered as a basic human right. That is of very short supply. Okay. Next is your financial services. Financial services in the sense your banking and financial institutions. Okay. So many countries, they will try to place their limits on foreign ownership. Okay. Like to ensure domestic control of their financial system. So ultimately, it tries to safeguard your stability. It tries to prevent external forces from entering into your country's monetary policy and your insurance pension funds also. Okay, where you try to protect your domestic policy holder, and you try to maintain the stability of your financial market. This is also one of the area where foreign capital is not encouraged. Next is your healthcare and pharmaceuticals. Okay. Why do they do it so? Just to ensure accessibility and equity in healthcare for citizens and maintain the control on overall public health policy. Okay. Sometimes to protect your national health standards, to regulate your, what do you say, this drug market, foreign control, to prevent your foreign control over essential pharmaceutical service. So in this particular area also it is forbidden. Next is your environmental protection, where it goes on with your polluting industries such as your manufacturing, your chemical production, your mining activities. So here the government, they try to protect your local ecosystem. They try to protect the wildlife or the natural resources from getting exploited. Okay. And there are some zones which we call it as eco-sensitive zones. Okay. They are very environment sensitive, you can say, like forests or national parks. Okay. These are restricted to preserve only biodiversity as well as your natural resources. And the last is your public services. Public services is nothing but the education, the foreign investment that is required in schools, universities, uh, in getting public services, critical public services such as getting electricity, getting water from different countries, then transportation. So they may be restricted to ensure that these services, they remain under national control, but not subject to external profit motives. Okay, so there are certain sectors from where it is forbidden. Now, next you have foreign collaborations. Now, what do you mean by foreign collaboration? Foreign collaboration refers to partnership between entities from different countries, typically involving business, government, or educational institutions. Okay, the definition is very clear in my PPT. It refers to partnership between entities from different countries that involves business, government, or educational institutions. Okay. So whatever the collaborations, what do you mean by collaboration? Getting merged with some other sector, getting merged with some other entity, that you refer to as collaborations. Okay. So the collaborations that we are making with foreign country, why are we going, why are we going with foreign collaborations? Just to achieve mutual benefit, such as sharing our resources with them or sharing their resources with us, to get expertise in knowledge, for technology upgradation, in order to improve the economy of our country, in order to have proper market access to our country or to their country. For that purpose, we go for foreign collaborations. Okay. When we are speaking about foreign collaborations, we have different types of foreign collaborations. Okay. What are the different types of foreign collaborations? It's your FDI, joint venture, licensing and franchising, technology transfer, strategic alliances, research and development collaboration, public-private partnership. PPs we call it as. FDI already we have discussed, so once again, I will not tell you. I will tell you about joint ventures. Okay, joint ventures is also a kind of a collaboration where we are arranging one business where two or more companies, they try to pool their resources for a common purpose, such as entering a new market or developing a new product. So in this case, both the parties, they will try to share their control. They will try to share their risk as well as their profits. Okay, make a small example. A foreign automotive company partnering with a local firm to just set up a production plant in a new country. Okay, I have all the assembling parts in my parent company, in my host country, and the other foreign company is having its manufacturing. So, in this case, we are having a joint venture wherein I'm just transferring my assembling parts to their plant. So, there the assembling process goes on. Okay, so this is a kind of a joint venture that is taking place in between two companies. Minimum criteria is two. You can have more than two as well. Okay, where we are trying to share our resources. Next is your licensing and franchising. What happens in licensing and franchising? In licensing, basically a company will allow a foreign entity or a foreign company to use its intellectual property, such as your technology, such as your trademark. Okay. So when they are exchanging, when they are allowing us to use their technology, their trademark, in return, we have to be very loyal to them. We have to pay a kind of a fees to them. Okay. Whereas in franchising, a company, a foreign company, they will allow to use its business model, its brand by paying a franchising fee. In licensing, only for a certain duration you are using it, and for that duration you are paying up of money. Whereas in franchising, you are using their names as well. Okay, you are using their model, you are using their ingredients. Okay, like how you have got an example of your McDonald. McDonald basically it's an international food chain. Okay, wherein it has got its own sector in US. But here in India also we are getting McDonald. We have McDonald's. That means we are using the name of McDonald. Okay. We are trying to adapt to the business model of McDonald. Their ingredients. We are trying to franchise their brand in our country. Okay. For that particular thing, we are paying a fee for it. That refers to franchising. That is just using the name and then continuing your business using their name, their strategy, their model, their ingredients. Okay. Next is technology transfer. Just now we have seen. Next is strategic alliance. Strategic alliance is nothing but where two or more firms from different countries they try to collaborate. Okay. To come out with a specific objectives to form a new company. That we call it as strategic alliances. So in this strategic alliances, we try to involve sharing of resources, your knowledge. Okay. We try to share our markets. Okay. But ultimately, we have our own operations. That means independent operations will be there in different countries. For example, your airlines. Okay. These airlines will be forming an alliance for better flight routes or a technology company partnering with some foreign supplier for components to get it assembled. Okay. Next is your research and development collaboration. Okay. So here the collaborative efforts that is made between different companies or in between different universities or research institutes. What do they try to do? They try to jointly develop new technology. Not only technology, but even they will come up with a product or they will come up with a new service. So this involves shared research funding, research sources, or laboratory facilities, you can say. Basically, the pharmaceutical companies that you come across, Ready Labs is there. Okay. What do they try to do? They try to partner on drug development. Okay. Just to find out, just to come up with sharing their research findings on sustainable practices. And they'll come up with a new medicine of it. Okay. Next is your public-private partnership, PPPs. See, this is a very important concept. That is types of foreign collaborations. What are the different types of foreign collaborations means? All these things you have to explain it. PPPs, public-private partnership. This is a kind of a collaboration that is made between foreign governments and your private companies to implement projects to benefit public welfare. Okay, how you are benefit, you are going to benefit public welfare by going up with the construction of infrastructure on healthcare industry, either on education or other public services. Okay, so for that purpose, we go on with public-private partnership. Okay, that is public entity and private entity. They both collaborate together to come up with a new policy or to come up with a new product or with new entity or new company, you can say. Okay, so for that purpose, we go on with foreign collaborations. Now, what are the benefits of foreign collaborations? We'll be getting access to new markets. You will be reaching globally to different types of people. You'll be able to transfer your knowledge. You'll be able to transfer your technology. You'll be able to reduce your cost. Okay, so these are some of the benefits. At the same time, you'll be having your disadvantage as well. Okay, disadvantage is something where sometimes you are not in a position to adapt to their culture, to their language, okay, to their technology. Okay. Second thing is time constraint. Here we have day, there they will be having a night time. So it will be very difficult for us to work in those particular hours where they will be working. Okay. So these are some of the disadvantages for it. Next is, see, this is an example of your foreign collaboration. Here you can see four different companies. Tata, Docomo. Tata is one company, Docomo is another company, where they are collaborating and forming a new company that is Tata Docomo. Okay. Sikkim Manipal University. Sikkim is one entity, Manipal is another entity, where together they are coming up with and introducing a new course, okay, into their university. ICICI Lombard and General Insurance, that is GIC. ICICI is a different company, General Insurance is a different company. They are coming together and they are coming up with a new policy or new entity, you can say, which we call it as ICC Lombard GIC Limited. Okay, another example is ING Vaishya Bank. ING is one bank, Vaishya is another bank. Together they are collaborating and coming up with ING Vaishya Bank Limited. Right? So these are some of the examples of your foreign collaborations. Now, next is your India's foreign capital policy. This subject is very vast. Coming towards India's foreign policy. What are the key components of India's foreign capital policy? The first is your FDI, FPI, ECB, FEMA, SEZ, disinvestment and privatization. Okay, FDI, FPI already we have seen at the starting of our class. Okay, now I'll move on with ECB. Okay, that is external commercial borrowings. What do you mean by external commercial borrowings? These are nothing but these are loans or these are credits that are raised by Indian companies from your foreign companies. So whatever the funds that are being raised, they are used for specific purpose like your working capital, for infrastructure project, for capital expenditure. Okay, so here in this case, the RBI, that is Reserve Bank of India, they set certain regulations on this ECB, on this borrowings that include your maximum permissible limit for borrowing who are eligible, and also different types of loans are being allowed to you to go up with the economy, to go up with the increase in your economic development. Next is your FEMA. FEMA is nothing but Foreign Exchange Management Act. Okay. This is an act where we are trying to relate our foreign exchange in India to ensure that whatever the foreign investments that are going are consistent with India's economic policy. Okay, whatever the foreign policies, whatever the foreign exchange in India policies are there, that has to be inconsistent with India's economic policy. For this, they will set certain guidelines. They will set certain guidelines on your remittances, on your investments that you are inflowing as well as outflowing. So here we are providing a proper framework, legal framework you can call it as, just to promote your foreign investment, whether it is going in complies with your India's rules and regulations or not. Okay. Next, you have your special economic zone. Okay. Special economic zone is SEZ. SEZ are nothing but these are some areas you can call it as, where foreign company they try to enjoy certain tax incentives. They try to enjoy certain duties exemption and other benefits just to promote their export industry. So India has got several economic zone that attracts your foreign investment in manufacturing, in technology transfer, that is in information technology, and in other sectors as well. Okay, but there are certain restricted sectors we have seen, like security, national security, towards our natural resources, towards agriculture, where foreign investors they cannot invest. Okay, so those comes under non-special economic zones. Okay, and special economic zones are something where foreign investors they try to invest it. Next is disinvestment and privatization. Okay, what do you mean by disinvestment? The Indian government they are taking a kind of an approach to sell state-owned company or public sector company just to raise their capital to encourage private sector. Okay, like how these PPPs are there. They have been part of India's strategy. Just we are inviting foreign investment from PPPs into your infrastructure zone, into your service sector. Okay, like LPG, liberalization, privatization, and globalization. So privatization is another concept where we are trying to entertain or where we are trying to open our interest to our foreign investors to invest in our company for better improvement or improving economy of our country. For that purpose, we go on with disinvestment and privatization. So these are some of the India's foreign capital policy. Okay. So in our next class, we'll move up with cost of capital. Okay. So I'll just try to wind up my class over here. Okay. In our next class, I'll continue with the remaining part. Is that clear to you all? Thank you all for attending my session. Have a good day.